by putting my 1305 Semogue brush back in the water. And it's been there for a couple minutes while I gathered all my gear. It's going to be there for a couple more minutes as I prep for you guys and tell you about stuff. But it's not getting a long soak like I have been doing with my current Boarathon. I've got about 7 boars in case you are new to this, where I'm just bringing them all up together. I think this is going to be the 13th use for this guy, and they're all at about 12 or 13 uses. It's neat to watch them behave differently, break in, some more quickly than others, that sort of thing. I just finished 150 shaves with my Nasset blade. It's the first one I've ever marathoned, and it happens to be going quite a long ways. I don't think there's anything special about that particular blade. There are definitely other blades like this one here today, the Gillette Silver Blue, that people have taken a long way. This one is one that only has one use on it, which is pretty rare for me. And I picked that blade, even though I do have a Gillette Silver Blue that's got about 24 uses that is currently my Marathon GSB. But I'm testing out a new razor. Of course, I've had this Christopher Bradley for a while, but I'm testing out this base plate, this open comb. This is something new he's put out within the last several months, and I finally was able to pick up the base plate. I'll unscrew the handle here, let you have a look at it. Obviously, this is the A plate. I wanted to start pretty mild because when you compare the solid bar versus the open comb in the same model razor, you can usually assume that the open comb is going to be a little bit more aggressive. And I really like the smoothness of the A in the solid bar, and so I even wanted to start at AA. But I came across this A and a B on the used market, saved myself about 12 bucks or so, and so then I decided to go with that. And we'll try the B maybe tomorrow. But because of this new base plate, I decided to step back to a razor that was a known entity, where I wouldn't have any questions in terms of, well, this could be the head or this could be the age of the blade. You know what I'm saying? Also wanted to show you, here's, I don't know, hopefully the camera will show you the difference. This is my only top cap that I've ever had for this razor, and this then is the new, and so the patina, you might be able to distinguish a darker patina on the top cap. And that's just a difference of, man, have I had this maybe a year? Maybe, can't remember. Anyway, so we will have the razor right there. Then the soap is one of my all-time favorites, Mountain Man. And by one of my all-time favorite companies, Stirling. I've got tons of their soaps because they've just got so many good scents, and the performance is excellent. But the reason I have a lot of them is the value is tremendous. You get almost 6 ounces for a little bit less than the price of a lot of soaps give you for 3 or 4 ounces. So awesome. Now I've used this once. As you can see, I've scooped it. Cool Water, I think, is the scent that this is kind of based off of. It's the, cologne. Just so awesome. I enjoyed it even before I knew that it was made out of a good cologne. All right. So I think we've introduced everything. So let's get started with the Gillette Silver Blue. I have the wooden outer paper. Since I change blades on a regular basis, I do keep mine in their little sleeves. All right, so there we go. And this, as you can see, has those little glue dots, which I am not a fan of. But if you use a blade enough, they go away. You do have to clean your razor head a lot of times with maybe a toothbrush and something. You can see the difference in the patina by looking at the dots there. The dots come from the older top cap, Compare that with the lighter color of the newer open comb head. If I had to choose, I would be a solid bar guy only and not worry about open combs. But I do enjoy trying different things, and why not? All right, especially if you have to mow down multiple days of growth. But to be honest, I don't really have trouble doing that with a solid bar, even a mild solid bar. I may not get as much growth pulled off in that first pass as I usually do with a 1 day growth, but by that second pass it makes up for it. And so by the time I get to the third pass, I'm just as shaven as I always am. So I don't usually have to do any extra passes, even if I'm using a mild razor. All right, so the blade is loaded up. A little splash of water on my face here. Look back at some of my notes, and I think a 40-second load on this Stirling is going to be the way to go. In the past, I've scooped it, but I kind of enjoy the loading process a little bit more. I'm shaking out most of the water in the brush here. I enjoy the loading process a little bit more if I do it with the brush on the soap. It just feels more a part of the experience. Okay, so 40 just rolled around right there, so that's a good mark. And we'll go around until 20 seconds on the next minute. Online, you've got some neat videos with Stirling. Some people actually have problems loading, getting the right lather with Stirling. I never really have too much. 30 seconds is my usual amount to load a soap, but this is a kind of a soft bore, and so I'm going to do 40, and that's going to be in about 0 seconds. There we go. So that's about how much soap we have. We were able to put on the brush. Yesterday it was a little deceptive. I didn't think it was going to go. I was loading from Barrister & Mann Diamond, and the brush was a Badger, and I didn't think it had enough soap on it, but it had plenty. So it can be a little deceptive. All right, Mountain Man, that'll be fun. Okay, so we'll take this guy. As usual, this is a bowl from Roger Quintero, and design from him, and it's 3D printed. So if you have access to a 3D printer, you can take the files that are in the description and print your own. That's a nice scent coming up from that. I was going to shave with the Cold River Soapworks new addition to their whole lineup, their Chapin Milk sheep's milk soap. Doesn't have too much of a scent to it, kind of like Mitchell's Wool Fat or Hasling or Smallfitch. But it is a nice shaving soap from what I've heard. It looks good, and so I was looking forward to trying it, but I was just reading online today and just seeing how some guys are having trouble with Stirling, and I felt like I've got a few Stirling videos up, but why not make another one? It's such a great soap. I really want to make sure I have tons of good videos out there with how to help people make good lathers with Stirling. And this one's coming up nicely. Looks like it's going to be just fine. I did have Stirling for Him scent, I don't know, a month or two ago, or 3. and it had a hard time loading. But I was going through some water issues at the time with the water treatment that our neighborhood uses, and I thought that could be it. I was having an issue as well, but I think it was just a really soft Boar brush that just wasn't stirring up as much of the soap as usual. And I kept repeating shaves and figured out what it was. Stirling is a thirsty soap, as I recall. We've almost added 3 teaspoons now. If you are unsure about how much soap to add, one surefire way of making sure you have enough, I've got hard water, and Stirling does just fine with hard water, but that means that if you have softer water, then it should be even easier for you to generate a good lather. But take a 1/4 teaspoon measure and hook out a 1/4 teaspoon of soap, and that should be plenty for a little bit over maybe 3.5 or 4 passes of shaves. And that takes all the guesswork out of loading from the tub if maybe you're having a few problems. So we've added a little over 3 teaspoons. Let me just show you how the lather's coming so far. That's actually pretty encouraging. Look at the solid, bulbous nature of the soap ball here. There's not too many ridges and crevices and things like that. The peak right there, look, that's pretty elastic as it bends over. Let's let it, yeah, a little bit drop there. I think we're in a good place. And so let's reach in, and nice and slick. I can feel the ridges in my fingerprints. Let's go ahead and shave with this. All right, a little bit more water on my face. Brush feels great. Very soft tips, and only, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of the tips have split. It's still got a long way to go. Has kind of a nice massaging action. It's not floppy, but it's very, very soft. Kind of medium to slightly lower than medium backbone. I've got a little bit more than maybe a day's growth on me at the moment. All right, looking forward to trying this Karve Christopher Bradley Open Comb, the A. That's nice. That is smooth, not aggressive or rough at all. And it just feels like it is cutting the hairs really well. Little bit of feedback to that in terms of audio. And this is me switching from using a 150 use blade. And so the fact that I'm not butchering myself by pressing too hard makes me happy, because it means that I'm still using good technique and not trying to compensate for my older blade by pressing too hard. And so that means that older blade's doing really well. I'm not having to be extra rough with it to make it work. All right, rinse. And now we will load up the brush for lather number 2. It looks like, I'm really glad that I did a 40-second load with this little Boar. It's a soft Boar, and so if you've got one that's scritchy and rough, then the 40-second load may be perfect for you, or give you kind of an extra pass or two for margin's sake. But in the future, with this kind of brush, I might load for more like 50 seconds or so. This lather is probably on the thinner side of where I might like it. It's very serviceable, but it's not creamy. Needs to be a little thicker. I could go back to the puck and get a little bit more soap on here, but eh. All right, cross grain now on my cheeks. So smooth, barely feel the blade, probably because it did such a good job cutting the first pass. This is definitely a razor head that I would recommend, maybe for those who are a little scared of normal open combs, because most open combs aren't this mild. But this is terrific. So I'm really glad I got the B as well. I may not need to go to the AA, which is more mild than this, because this is just excellent. Very, very comfortable, no irritation at all. Since that lather was a little bit on the wet side, I can tweak it a bit by just dabbing my skin dry between passes. So then I'll take and load up for the third pass, and it's going to have less water to work with from the skin. Easy display, this brush. Kind of a nice massagey kind of feel, not scritchy at all. Very comfortable. And this is early on. It's going to get even softer as the tips split. The scent's coming through. It's not super strong, but it's there. And since this is the third and last pass, I'm going to grab some more lather. Yeah, next time, how about I do it for more like 50 seconds of loading. May be able to make it just a little thicker. And yeah, I mean, I could probably make another pass out of that because, you know, this serves to underscore the lesson that it just doesn't need to be Santa's beard thick. This is how thick it is, and it's shaving really well, really slick. And I am just fully confident that this nice mild A blade would be great at reducing multiple days growth without a problem. So I think it's an excellent open comb. You can see the lather is on the wet side. It's falling apart. And with this nice sharp blade, I'm easily able to kind of handle strokes that might normally cause a problem in this area because I've got some swirls and hair changes, but this guy has already cut the hair so close that because of the sharpness of the blade and I guess the geometry just works really well with my skin and beard type, that I'm just getting no problem at all, even when I go a little bit too far out of my prime area here and cut maybe a little against the grain because of swirls over here, that it's just doing it without a problem and without irritating me. All right, I think I'm good to rinse. And that is just a top-notch close shave. It's hard to, I barely see any tips, let's put it that way, and that's rare for me, especially with the older Nasset. I'm still able to shave really well with it even after 150 uses, but I still see the tips, and occasionally I'll see length on one or two hairs. I could attack that with a touch-up, but three passes is great, and it's still comfortable too. Now this was magically delicious right here. The comfort here, the excellent slickness was provided with the lather. It is on the little bit wetter end of where I might like it, and so that's something to think about. Maybe this same water amount with a 50-second load might be just perfect for me. How much water did we use? 3 1/3 teaspoons is what we added. Of course, we had a little bit more water in the brush, but that's why I shake it out mostly, so that my water calculations can be a little closer to what you might be able to duplicate. And that's why I do the calculations, because to be honest, when I'm trying to help those who aren't able to put together a lather themselves. They're just having trouble because a lot of guys out there like a more natural approach, and so they'll say load it for a while until it looks a certain way, and sometimes that's perfect, but some guys those vague terms don't really help them, because maybe they overload it, and so then their feeling ends up to be more dry, and it doesn't latch onto their skin quite as well to be able to protect it, or they underload it because of that early froth that develops. They think that is enough lather, and so they really need more soap so that they can also add more water. And so that's why I give the measurements. And what I expect people to probably do is not keep measuring even after they've found a good technique. I expect people to then maybe switch to leaving more water in their brush, so that then they don't have to measure, just kind of maybe hang it and then shake twice, or whatever they figure out that's best for themselves. That's kind of what I hope most people go to, instead of necessarily being so analytical, unless of course you're like that and then enjoy it, do the syringe thing or whatever. But I'm hoping that people then can use those measurements that I am giving to zone in on something a little more closely that can help them get started with a good lather, and then they can move on from there. Once they realize what it can be, then they can figure out their own way of ascertaining when to stop adding water, like maybe the finger test, or watching how it behaves when you drop it into the bowl, that sort of thing. All right, the shave is done. Let's find a post-shave product. You know, I'm enjoying the scent on this soap a lot. I'm going to say 4 to 5 out of 10 on the strength of the soap. And so I'm going to pick an unscented balm, and this is a good one by Soap Commander. Be wary about Soap Commander because pretty much all of their balms have menthol, and I don't care for menthol. So that was a big alert for me when I got my first one, and it was just loaded with menthol. Not a lot, but enough to bother me, kind of make my eyes start watering and that sort of thing. Maybe I have menthol sensitivities, but their unscented even has a with menthol version. So just make sure you look for the menthol-free term there, if you are like me. But a lot of people like their balms, and so I guess a lot of people like the amount of menthol they put in, which is not very much, but apparently it's still over my line. All right, excellent, great shave. Face feels great, no irritation, really close shave. Super happy about that. I don't like it when the soap kind of slings off like it did there at the end. So that's another reason for me to increase the soap in the ratio just a little bit, to both achieve that creaminess and to prevent a little bit of mess. But in terms of performance, that lather was excellent. And if you normally are on the dry side, might be fun to try something along the lines of what I got tonight, to know how the different spectrums can be. Then maybe find a happy medium in between. Especially straight razor shavers might like exactly the ratio I had just now, because they need that extra slickness. They don't need it to be dry and and not protect the skin as well. They need it probably around the lines of what I had, maybe even a little bit thinner. So that might be best for them. Just now I was disassembling the razor, taking the parts and just drying them off. And it hit me that I think my next step after tomorrow, when I try the B open comb plate, is to test, because this was such a smooth shave, go back to maybe the A plate, maybe compared to go back and forth between the A open comb and the A solid bar, see what the difference is, because this was such a good shave. I wonder if, who knows, I mean, could I like it better than the solid bar? I'm really interested to see that. Maybe I compare the A open comb with maybe the B or C closed comb, and see how if the aggression levels are similar. So that'll be nice for some good tests and see how it actually compares. So like most of the Semogues I'm testing, the 1250, the 1800, the 1305, the 2000, those are the ones that are in this Boarathon, where I'm bringing all the Boar brushes up together, comparing them against a Zenith B10, a Stirling Boar, a Omega 10098, and this one, along with all the other Stirlings, after two uses, where I soaked them for about an hour or 3 hours, somewhere in that range, before each shave, they were comfortable, enjoyable to use, along with the Zenith. But the other two, the Stirling and the Omega, they took more time, and that's okay, but it's just a point for you to know. And so these do break in and get comfortable pretty quickly. But when the next level of comfort that I'm looking forward to this guy is as these tips continue to split. I'm going to probably continue to experience that nice massagey backbone, but then the softness is going to grow and grow and grow. That'll be really interesting to see, because I believe the Omega has stepped over a line where I just noticed that some of those bristles are just crazy soft, but it's got a little bit more backbone behind it. So I'm interested to see what happens with these, with maybe a little bit lower backbone than that. See what happens when those tips split. See if they get that comfort and how that comfort feels with slightly less backbone than with the Omega, for instance. Something I'm looking forward. I just finished stropping this on the towel. He's kind of opening up a little bit gradually, and more of these little hairs are staying out to the side. These are also the ones that are splitting a little quicker. We'll just keep using it. I think this one will appreciate a little bit more soaking in the future. This time it was just maybe a 10-minute soak, which I enjoyed the shave, enjoyed the feel, but for the break-in sake, I think I might increase that time next time. Well, this was a nice shave. I just finished with a bunch of yard work today and kind of collapsed on the couch afterwards. And then my body woke me up at about 3 or 4 a.m. and I stumbled up here. I didn't really want to shave, but in another way, I really did. And definitely kind of brought me back. But I'm going to definitely enjoy going and finishing my sleep and get ready for Sunday. But really enjoy the Mountain Man. What a great scent that is. It just remains one of my favorites. The brush did really well, as we just discussed. Wow, that open comb on the Christopher Bradley razor. So that's the A. Really comfy. So we'll try out the B tomorrow probably. And maybe then I will look at maybe that Shop and Milk soap I talked about earlier. But I'm gonna make sure I put up a lot of Stirling videos, because I want to make sure people have good examples of what can be done. Maybe next time I do Stirling, I'll do a Badger. You know, I don't use synthetics too much, and so I'll keep doing with the Boar and Badger. Make sure I have representatives on both sides for Stirling, because it's really a good soap company. The guy behind it, the family team behind it are just quality folks. They ran into a problem with some naming where, they accidentally named something the same as another maker. But they'd already printed up the labels, and it was probably for Black Friday or something like that. So it was a big effort, and it would have been quite a hit for them to have to stop and relabel things. But the other guy was from, pretty sure it was No Lather, and just quality folks, right? No Lather said, hey, just sell it. You have our permission to use it. Don't even sweat it, and you don't even have to pay us. Wasn't that awesome? And but then what Stirling did was, with any of the sales of that particular scent, they would donate them to a good charity. And so that's the quality of folks we're dealing with. So I'm proud to support them. Don't have any affiliation with them, but proud to support them. And there we go. So the shave is done. Face feels great. I mean, I definitely more comfortable, more smooth than my old Nasset blade. 150 uses. It's not going to be as sharp, and so it's refreshing how easily these younger blades cut. But I'm pursuing that Nasset just for grins, see how far it'll go. I probably would normally stop maybe about 70 or so if I'm going for comfort's sake. But right now I'm just, let's figure out what it'll do. But it's nice to step back, make sure my technique's still on par, so that I'm not cutting myself up with newer blades. And we're good. Hope this video was of help to you, had something in there good for you. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care and good night.